bus. We don't know who's driving. We don't know what's happening on board this bus, but this is a live image of this bus flying down Jimmy Carter Boulevard, ignoring every traffic law.
Believe it or not,
stop sign, every stop light, and it's already
we have a stolen,
several cars on the highway,
gargantuan Dodge Charger XL on the loose in Atlanta. It's a public Dodge Charger.
Roadblocks. The bus is not stopping. It simply is not stopping. I want to bring in my co-anchor here, Tracy.
Couple minutes behind the stream here as we catch up. That is a stolen Dodge Charger in Atlanta. That is a big red Dodge Charger, public Dodge Charger on the run in Gwinnett County, Atlanta. Atlanta News First on the call here as we catch up.
Starts now on Atlanta News First with breaking news.
Breaking news.
We are following breaking news.
Big ass Dodge Charger on the loose here in Atlanta.
In Gwinnett County, Jimmy Carter.
Lay out for a second. Get us up to speed.
Live images from our first alert chopper. This bus. We don't know who's behind the wheel.
This would be the plot of Speed.
For the last 20 minutes or so, we've been watching that bus weave in and out of traffic, run through intersections, run through on that bus right now. We don't know if the current driver of the bus is behind the wheel. We don't know if someone else is behind the wheel. But right there,
don't know if it's a hijacked bus. We don't know what's going on.
Bus stop for everyone's safety.
And here's somebody up on the left side here. A GSP officer just sped right by the bus to pull into the front. Most of them are trailing, but every now and again they send an officer to the front of the bus. That could be, honestly, to just stop the intersections ahead of the bus and warn everyday people to say, look, this is a dangerous, dangerous situation here, flying down what I believe is State Route 8. It looks like that's the connector over in Gwinnett County. We were on I-85. We switched to Jimmy Boulevard.
So it looks like that there are units in pursuit here. I don't know what Atlanta PD looks like or if these are sheriffs, but I would imagine all of those vehicles that are swarming behind this giant Dodge Charger are in pursuit. They're all on the wrong side of the road, creating a fleet as they make a left-hand turn.
Stopping traffic, trying to make way for this bus as best as they can.
Wrong side of the road. Front right is down.
In that turn line.
Oh, plowing through other Dodge Chargers here on the road. Back to the right side.
And you can see the damage.
Front right is all sorts of busted up. This might be a 4-star chase.
The curbs, the vehicles, everything else. Again, we don't know the situation on this bus. Some time ago, there was some kind of altercation. The driver.
This really is. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go chasing, bus chasing.
The bus drove off, and here's where
big Dodge Charger with an armada of Gwinnett County Sheriff's or Police Department in pursuit.
Now, live images from our first alert chopper.
And we've seen spike strips, deployed so far. We've seen
spike strips are what sent that front right down. Don't know if it's stolen and the person who stole it's driving it, or if they've hijacked it and are making the driver drive it like it's a scene out of Speed. No clue, but we are hauling.
And it's still plowing. This is, again, Stone Mountain. We're in the Stone Mountain area right now, working to figure out exactly what is happening as this bus, again, barrels down the freeway here, or at least the roadway here, followed by a number of officers. GSP, it looks like Gwinnett County PD as well, chasing this bus, and we still don't know what in the world is going on.
Is there a Downey in Georgia?
There's no clue right now about why or whatever's happening or what started this fight or why police first responded to Ivan Allen to try and make this happen. It looks like, and I missed that roadway. We just got to look at that roadway there.
I think they're headed eastbound on Hugh Howell Road from what our first alert breaking news desk is telling us at this point. And, you know, you mentioned those stop strips before, Alan, just kind of talking about that. Clear, you know, they're designed to stop things, but are they designed
all roads
to
lead
stop
to Downey,
bus?
of course.
We don't know how many people are on that bus. We are hoping for everyone's safety that there aren't many people there who are just having to endure this.
Wonder what those cars were on the other side of the road.
Again, as you mentioned, those stop strips really did not do that much damage.
Well, it knocked out like 2 of the front right, but these giant Dodge Chargers have like 18 wheels on there.
This type of stuff for decades and decades. Brendan, you're watching this video live.
Try pitting that thing. It's like a lioness trying to take down a hippo.
right now is what
Try
we're
and
getting
pit
from
maneuver this
Amtrak.
thing. Good luck.
This isn't confirmed yet by police, except this is what they're saying to each other over the radio, is that the driver is being held hostage.
Oh, wow.
The driver is being held at
You hear that? The driver is being held hostage.
Which is why we may be seeing
This is Speed. This is the plot of Speed.
aggressive action, ramming into police cars, ramming
I
into
am
civil
Gregor D.
cars.
Appreciate you dropping some subs into the
Would not
chat.
want to do that, but literally,
Everyone who
there's a
subscribed to the
hostage
channel,
taker
as always.
on
Thank you,
the
guys.
bus.
Pulled over.
We're going to stop you for a minute.
Hostage situation on the bus is the report here from Atlanta News First.
Our first alert chopper, we're trying to
Unconfirmed if it's Sandra Bullock or Keanu Reeves up there in the driver's seat.
Stepped on the bus or stepped off. We can see the driver in the vest. You see
Someone's
some
up there with
movement
the
there.
driver.
Okay, there he is. That suspect,
Look at
one
that.
suspect, yes. It looks
People
like
getting
they're
off the
on
bus now.
able to get on the bus, and
Is that
someone
law
on the
enforcement?
oh no, I take it back. Maybe those passengers.
Get this
on the
pursuit
bus.
tree out of the way. Passengers getting off the bus.
Getting out to some safety.
Yes, with their hands behind their head. That's what's happening right now. The passengers getting off the bus there. We saw the driver in the vest who was behind the steering wheel, and there was another person up there in the front with that driver, and then immediately after, people started getting off of that bus. We are monitoring this situation. We have the live feed up right now, but we had to pull off of that because we're not exactly sure what is happening there with that situation. But you could see everyday people stepping off of that bus, getting into the grass with their hands behind their head. And like Brendan Keith just spoke about, we now know that this is a hostage situation.
Oh, how frightening. I mean, it's one of those scenarios you see in the movie, Speed.
Yes,
I think
Speed,
immediately we
yeah.
think about that.
Stop taking my material.
In and out of traffic. Want to go back to some information we got from our first alert desk.
Don't make- am I gonna have to go find another stream?
Ivan Allen Jr.
Thank you.
Boulevard. This is earlier today, before 4 p.m. Unfortunately, we can't see too much from our first alert chopper behind the trees here. But this all started as some kind of dispute on a Gwinnett County transit bus. That bus fled from the location, and that's when that kind of slow speed, sometimes high speed pursuit began, where those officers, Georgia State Patrol officers, were behind that bus trying to get it to stop. Now we see SWAT units right in front of it, blocking that bus.
Ah, Bearcat.
Yeah, we may need to kind of pull back from this.
No, we don't. Keep it on. It's a Bearcat. 5 stars.
All the passengers on that bus were able to get off. They had to come down. Get
They
off
brought
the
that
bus,
Bearcat in fast.
behind their heads, so that law enforcement can determine who is the actual suspect.
They got SWAT. We're up to 5 stars. We're only 1 star away from tanks.
Off that bus, it looked like a good bit of them were off that bus, or at least got off the bus before we took away from the shot here as the Atlanta News First chopper now pans around. We've got some.
There's dogs everywhere.
Again, a live image there right now. We're
These
keeping our eyes
pursuit
on this.
trees,
I believe this
out
is
of the way.
Hill Road, Silver Hill Road near Stone Mountain. That is the live look from the chopper. The
Poonhound.
back the
1, 2, 3.
here.
Stephen
A
S. Appreciate you
massive
guys.
SWAT presence in front of and behind this bus. This is a look here, and it looks like officers.
They're going in. There's no standoff here.
Approach the front end of this bus. They're getting on the bus. SWAT is boarding.
Look at on top of the Bearcat. They have SWAT guys with guns pointed, laying out.
What comes next here, Tracy?
Right, a sharpshooter on top of that SWAT vehicle there. They are trying to make sure this is covered from every angle. As far as we know right now, that bus driver may possibly still be being held hostage. And of course, what's paramount is that driver's safety at this point. And that's what those officers are trying to make sure they can get that driver off that bus safely without anyone being hurt here, without any further harm being done. It's a little bit hard to tell what officers are doing now, but the good news here is at least a lot of the people on the roadways are safe, because that was very tenuous, touch and go, watching this bus weave in and out of traffic. And as we start to get into rush hour here on this Tuesday, once again, crazy busy day, right, in Metro Atlanta. But to watch this all unfold, again, this all happening right now, where
look at all those. Look at all those vehicles. Holy shit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I count 11, 12. Plus the Bearcat. That looks like him.
And it looks as though they do have some.
Got somebody.
Look at that.
Hands behind his back there, and they are scurrying him into a police unit here.
Oh, everyone breathe. Oh my God.
That they needed to put in handcuffs.
They made light work of getting on that thing, pinning it in with the Bearcats, getting him out of there. There was no time wasted. Hostage situation. The movie Speed being played out in real life here, minus the bomb underneath the bus.
Is that the
Code 4, I think.
Is this the only suspect?
Tentative code 4.
Injuries? Was
We're not
anybody
officially
hurt
code
on
4, but
that bus?
tentatively.
Even if it wasn't from situations on the bus, if you've been with us here for a while, you've seen that bus slam into a number of cars on the interstate, off the interstate, through Gwinnett County, near Stone Mountain to where we are right now, which is Silver Hill Road. The SWAT team stormed that bus.
We don't know the status of anyone on that bus. We saw some people getting off of it, holding the driver hostage. They got somebody out of there.
Why? And most importantly, if anybody is injured, Tracy.
Yeah, and just what led to this confrontation, this altercation to lead this person to want to take that bus driver hostage. And it looked as though there were easily 5, 6, 7, possibly more people who were on that bus. You know what? They're just trying to get to work. They're just trying to get home. They're just trying to go about their day. Yeah. And they are subjected to this, really fearing for their lives at the time, worried about the bus driver. How is he doing? And, you know, no telling what was going on that bus at that time. Let's bring in our chief investigator, Brendan Keefe, to talk a little bit more about this. Brendan, you know, we're hoping this is the end of the story as far as this phase goes for this potential taking this bus driver hostage and really going on this chase through across Gwinnett County.
Yeah, let me give you a little context. I was Mike, that helps. There we go. I was
Look at all those
travel
units.
reporter for 5 years in Houston, covered dozens of police chases, really hundreds of different chases over that time period, every single day flying in the helicopter. So that's the perspective I'm offering. I'll tell you right now, I've never seen such restraint from a SWAT team. This was incredibly professional.
Dude, that is so
Because you gotta
many
keep in mind,
deputies.
this is a deadly weapon that was being piloted, even if it was essentially at force, you know, with the hostage taker. So the police would have every justification to use lethal force to save lives, to prevent the loss of life. You notice when we'll re-rack the video eventually here at this point.
That is a low-flying bird.
SWAT team member, as you pointed out, Tracy, on top of that vehicle. There's two kinds of things, cover and concealment. They're different. They can be both at the same time, but one is cover, that just prevents the shooter from seeing you, and or sorry, that's concealment. And then cover is actually hard cover that prevents you from bullets going through something and hitting you. That officer on top would also be called overwatch. It's usually a sniper position, but it was so close to the bus, and that was clearly a rifle, more than likely an M4 rifle with a scope. So they had a clear view into the bus, but also cover and concealment. And then what you had is the officers storming the bus. The fact that we saw what appears to be a suspect coming off the bus, uninjured, unshot, is extraordinary because, again, there would have been every justification to use lethal force because already we saw a deadly weapon used to run into vehicles and there were people's lives at stake. So an extraordinary end to this. And they tried everything, as you pointed out, stop sticks. They even tried it on the highway. The back right wheels, the tires actually came off.
Wow, this was on the highway. This was on I-85.
And so those back wheels came off. In fact, the bus was having trouble.
Been on that
navigating
road
some of
many
the turns.
times.
They tried everything. You can't do a pit maneuver.
not on the bus.
A precision intervention technique because there isn't enough momentum with the bus. They tried stopping in front of the bus. The Georgia State Patrol vehicle was nearly run over and knocked out of the way. In effect, the bus did a pit maneuver on the Georgia State Patrol.
Oh shit, the bus was pit maneuvering.
If the stop sticks aren't working. And
Look how many, oh my
we
God.
don't know exactly why the bus stopped.
That is an entire jurisdiction. How many cars do they have?
You didn't have to wait for them to come in, and they were able to immediately both.
That had to be 40 cars. 40. Stop it. Stop it. How? Now would be the time to commit a crime in Gwinnett County. Holy shit. How many units they have there?
Immediate and decisive action, and at this point, it does not appear there was any loss of life.
How deep do they roll?
To something you were saying, which I noticed too, just kind of watching this all unfold, the communication ahead of where, you know, it's hard to tell where this bus is going to go, where this suspected gunman is going to ask this driver to go. Great communication in terms of getting a number of people off the road because this bus is now driving down the wrong side of the road, and to have that SWAT team close by enough to where this bus is able able to stop, where they can do what they need to do to get everyone safe. We didn't see any major car accidents here. You know, thank goodness we haven't seen anyone on the ground. But to their credit, you know, being able to end this as peacefully as possible with minimal injuries.
Tracy, there was extraordinary coordination. I was listening to the police radio traffic, and you had Atlanta police actually saying, okay, I want you guys to stand off here. I want you other ones to go up ahead and to protect the intersections. Alan, you noticed that. They were actually going ahead to make sure that we didn't have a T-bone crash at a red light where the other drivers have a green light and a bus is T-boning. That would have been a fatal collision.
You say that again.
The officers ahead. Georgia State Patrol was doing almost all of the contact. So you had vehicles to the left and the right, and then you had the vehicles behind. This was exceptionally well coordinated, and yes, they were definitely following sort of a playbook, if you will. With that said, there are departments, Atlanta Police included, which have very strict rules about when you can and cannot pursue. This is one of those cases that is not going to fall into the we don't pursue, because what it comes down to, is there a potential for loss of life? We're not talking about someone fleeing a speeding ticket stop. We're talking about someone holding a hostage on a deadly weapon bus that is being piloted through traffic. This is a classic.
It's always interesting to see these different jurisdictions and how they deal with these types of crimes.
Now, Brendan, do you have any understanding of,
Like, you know, LA would have gone into standoff mode, and the Bearcat would have taken an eternity to get there. They would not have this level of response, even if it was the CHP. This is like DEFCON 1 response, Code Red response.
What are these officers trying to make sure happens?
So here's the problem. It's the fog of war. Who is the suspect? Right? So, I mean, is there more than
They
one?
brought that Bearcat
There's actually
in
a training
mad
team
quick
used
to pin that thing in.
Always looking for the plus one. If you've got one bad guy, you need to turn and look for where's the next one. So if you've got two, you're looking for the third. If you've got three, you're looking for the fourth. So what you want to do is make sure every single person coming off that bus, this is why unfortunately we see it in mass shootings all the time. Students coming out of school with their hands in the air because you don't know who the shooter is.
You don't know which one.
You don't know if there's an accomplice. So everyone is treated as a suspect until they're rendered safe.
Yeah, and I just wanted to point out right now, we're still looking at some activity right outside of this bus right here.
And they could be, Ellen, not to interrupt you, but they could possibly be rendering aid to the bus driver.
There you go, yeah.
I have not seen him yet.
Yeah,
We
that's
see a
true.
number of-
Going out there,
Yeah.
they're definitely providing medical aid at this point, where they, and this helicopter, we may not necessarily have control of the shot at this point. They're definitely rendering aid to someone on the ground. Those are EMTs. And also, it's important to point out, some of those officers there are Atlanta Police.
Yeah, we're going to get off of that for
Yeah, we had
just
to
a
pull up
minute,
that
Brendan.
shot.
Yeah, just so, you know, we make sure that everything is okay. We're going to check on the condition of the bus driver momentarily. But those officers doing an amazing job, really
All right.
playbook response, if
Yes.
you will, to how this all ended. And it's not quite over yet. Certainly,
What do you mean?
you know, this needs to play out in courts, and we will hear
Oh.
more from the suspected gunman and really how this all transpired. Let's get back to that First Alert Chopper video. This is video of what just happened just after 5 o'clock when that suspect was taken off
Jasper in the
bus.
chat
You
says
can
the bus
see
driver
three
changed his
officers
route
right
board
there
to say,
trying
"Call
really
911."
dragging him almost to the
Smart.
vehicle to get him off the bus. A tenuous situation, rightfully so. The number of people who were put in jeopardy by this person allegedly holding the driver at gunpoint is just mind-boggling to think of how many people could have been hurt in this.
And we saw a lot of people getting off that bus right when they first stopped it, but we cut away from that shot and we fell behind the tree line. So we don't know how many people were actually evacuated off of this
I haven't heard
bus.
Code
Again,
4
this is
yet.
Video from moments ago, and right here,
Here's a replay for those of you just joining us. Here's what you're asking for. They throw the spike strips out in the middle of the street. Look at that. Did you guys see that?
This bus just kept on.
That officer was in lane number 2 in front of a speeding bus coming right at him, only feet away, laying spike strips out that got those front rights down.
Some moments flying through intersections. Tracy, this was a massive circuit.
Oh, and he almost hit that car pulling into the gas station.
This is video from earlier today. That pursuit is over, thank goodness. But producers pointing out on the front of that bus.
And those front, look at the front right is down. This is when they went
This one said,
head on into traffic, plowing through cars.
911. So that is something I didn't know. that you could see on a
remote-
bus,
yeah,
right?
that could have been a
So
punch
no
by the
doubt,
bus driver.
right? The bus driver letting everybody know this is a situation. Get out of the way.
And look at this.
This video from earlier today.
Yeah, this is people actually getting off of that bus that we were talking about.
That was crazy. So those of you just joining the telecast, 911 is right there on the front of the bus. That officer, they just showed the replay, running out into the middle of this downhill runaway Gwinnett County bus in lane number 2, throws the spike strips out, and he throws them out enough that they reach the passenger side front rights, knocks them all down, and he doesn't get run over.
As well, and we're going to be getting an update from them real soon. I want to take you.
Here's more replays. Look at the Armada. More footage from earlier coming in.
About this situation. As soon as we got our chopper there, we put it on the video. Brendan Keefe was talking about an attempted blockade from a GSP officer.
They were trying to block him in. Look at this. Look at this.
Too much power, too much motor, too much weight. The GSP officer getting forced.
What? He's pushing the officer. Look at that. He's in front. He's just pushing him like a battering ram.
The bus then continued down the highway. It hit several cars, I believe.
Hodor trying to hold the line. Another wreckage right there.
Right out of the way, it rolls into yet another vehicle, and the bus just keeps on going, flies right off the highway.
That car, I know, destroys that PD vehicle. That Dodge Charger turns it all the way around.
Gets off I-85 and then starts barreling down Jimmy Carter Boulevard. I believe you got video of the spikes. Here are the spikes once again.
Here comes Spikes again.
This bus.
Look at this guy. It's so dangerous. Oh my God. He could have just swerved left and he'd be splattered. Hodor holding the line before. That officer going into lane number 2 to throw out spike strips. Those multiple units being used as proximity mines being turned around.
Images from our first alert chopper right now, if we can. From last we checked, they were rendering aid, first responders rendering aid to what we believe was the driver of that bus who was being held hostage, from what we understand.
Yeah, every single one of those is going to be ADW on a police officer. This person will be in jail forever.
That driver, I'm not sure if he was being given direction on where to go, or just trying to drive to get somewhere where he could find some safety and some cover. And a number of people we saw get off that bus.
That was crazy. We didn't even see those during the live at the beginning. That is footage from earlier in this chase. I mean, just think, it doesn't look like they're going that fast. Oh, I was about to say, they're about to show us him plowing through this intersection.
I can't exactly, this is in Tucker, Hugh Howell
Just
Road.
barreling over those units like they're bowling pins. And all it takes is that bus going like 30, 40 miles an hour. And there's nothing that's going to be able to stand in front of it and stop it.
We saw earlier where they threw down the stop 6. Traffic on the other side of the road was stopped.
Yeah.
That's a lot of coordination.
Yeah.
Almost in rush hour here, trying to get everybody to stop to make sure they all stayed safe. Because who knew where that bus was going to go?
Exactly.
Who knew where that driver was
The
being
wrong way
directed
at
to go?
times.
Yeah, very many times.
Impossible to predict exactly what the next movements were going to be here. This intersection right here again, filled with officers out there. This is right off of where that bus was. I don't believe you can see the bus from this vantage point, but I do think it's right off camera. This is a live GDOT camera of that intersection where officers, of course, have multiple roadways shut down. But I want to bring you back about 20 to 30
I haven't
minutes
heard
ago,
code
back to
4.
that chase,
I
that
mean,
initial
from the
chase
broadcast
down
at least.
I-85, then Jimmy Carter. Here we go right here. The bus on I-85. You can see just how many officers had already.
Oh, this was on I-85.
This chase, the bus moving right through traffic. This is rush hour, and then Tracy,
And then that unit tries to park its ass right in front. Hodor holds the door.
That officer really
No, he does not.
on the line there to try and stop that.
He
bus.
just
Because
gets
imagine if he
picked
pushed
up.
into,
I'm thinking of what's his face from the challenge back in the day, putting Johnny Bananas on his back.
To give you a recap of how this all started. This was just before
CT style.
This afternoon. Actually started in downtown Atlanta at Ivan Allen Boulevard, and again, this is a Gwinnett County Transit bus, and there was some altercation.
Well, it's just boom!
Happened to the
Oh!
bus. And the bus then took off. That's what we learned. And then it ended up there on Silver Hill Road near Stone Mountain. So this pursuit really across the metro, down the freeways, up the freeways.
That was very Mad
Jimmy
Max.
Carter Boulevard. And once again, this video of those stop sticks, those spikes being thrown.
Look at that throw.
Officer having great aim there.
Look at that throw. That probably caught a whole bunch of rubber.
Perspective as well. You're watching this entire interaction here between this bus and these vehicles.
Yeah, that
from
bus, Mad
hundreds of
Max
feet up in
bus,
the air. What
just
looks
needs
like
the
it might be a
needs the
small
plow, the
bit
metal
of
plow in
or
front.
a good, decent bump is actually much more dramatic for the poor souls that are inside some of these cars, including the officers and the everyday people that are just trying to get to or from work or home. You're getting hit by a bus. It doesn't matter how fast the bus is moving. Any kind of jolting or jumbling is going to be a dramatic, and there's another instance right there of what I'm talking about. This is running into everyday people on the roadway.
Look at the
and
streak
it is
that
an
that
intense accident.
rubber's
I'm sure
leaving
there's
on
gonna
the
be
pavement.
a lot of people, not only
Because it's
who are
down
on
to
that bus who are in
one,
some
two,
type
it
of
might be
pain,
4
but
wheels
some
right
people
there in
were
that front right.
those vehicles that were hit by the bus. If you look to the left side here, you can see we're about to see some of those people come right off of this bus. And there's one, hands up behind his head.
See how it
Look at
says
this
call
right here.
911?
But coming out, walking away. This one's getting on the ground, hands behind his head. He realizes he needs to go. They're all getting off. And if you look through the driver's windshield, the driver looks like he or she is in that yellow neon vest. That's who we can assume is the driver here. And then several times during that chase, we saw at times, it was somebody in a white T-shirt up there up front with the driver. It just so happens we now know the suspect happened to be wearing a white T-shirt.
Now,
as
talk
well.
about
There's a good chance, Tracy, as we
Hodor,
about this incident,
talk
we'll
about
figure out that
a vehicle that cannot be moved. I said like telephone pole, you could put any GSP unit you want in front. That Bearcat ain't moving. There ain't nothing moving that Bearcat. That thing weighs a gazillion tons and is used for that exact purpose of pinning in vehicles during standoffs. That thing weighs.
Passengers and that bus driver to safety there. Again, from what we have
That is a cinder block on wheels. A giant cinder block on wheels.
To that slow speed, sometimes high speed chase across Metro Atlanta at some points in time.
I want to bring back in Chief Investigator Brendan Keefe, who again has a whole lot of experience.
Okay,
with
we might get an
situations
update
like this
here.
from front to back. Brendan, what exactly do you think would be happening on the ground right now as Atlanta News First tries to learn more details about what we're looking at?
Well, it's important to point out what we know and what we don't know.
And if we can bring Brendan's mic up.
So it's mic 8, if that helps.
There we go. All right,
right
Brendan.
now. So what's important to point out is what we know and what we don't know. So we do know they were working on someone right outside the bus. We don't know exactly who that person is or was. Is it the driver? Is it another suspect, a co-conspirator, if you will? We just don't know right now. What I will tell you is we're looking at a serious injury because they were doing CPR. Not when we were showing the video, but right after we cut away from it, they were doing CPR and they're on the ground. And so it's important to point out, we don't know what happened there. We don't know if the person was shot or by whom. It's important to point out. But remember,
Wow.
you guys noticed
CPR
that
being administered to
911,
someone on the
that's where normally
outside the
route
bus.
is. That's a panic button.
Yeah.
Almost every transit system has this. It's sort of like a silent alarm. The person on the bus doesn't know it's been triggered, but everybody else does. And so we don't know if that's what initiated it or whether there was a radio call or what. But that alerts everybody, hey, this is a bus that's in essentially distress. New York City taxis have a similar thing. It's a yellow light that the drivers can hit. For a short time, I was an auxiliary.
I didn't know
police
taxis
officer
had
in
that.
NYPD about 20 years ago, and I can tell you that was one of the trainings we had was to look for that yellow light. It means it's a driver in distress. So they immediately would know that. One other thing I wanted to point out, the stop sticks that we've been showing over and over again, that is when they were on Jimmy Carter Boulevard on the front wheels. The back right wheels were actually already blown out at that point on the highway. So that had already occurred.
Spike strips on the highway got 'em.
It looks like someone's seriously injured here. We just don't know who it is yet.
Yeah, it looked like they were on rims for quite a bit. And Brendan, I wanted to ask you too, for many of us, we're not necessarily that familiar with the Gwinnett County transit system, but I do know Atlanta News
guys
First
can hear
has
the
done
cleaning
investigations
lady.
about assaults for MARTA bus drivers, say for instance, right? A number of cities right now, especially after COVID, there's lots of barriers between the drivers and the passengers. Don't know exactly what the scenario was and how that was laid out on, say, this Gwinnett County bus here, but there could have possibly been a barrier, and it kind of makes you wonder now, will transit agencies across the metro start to rethink we need a lot more buffers between the drivers and passengers?
It's a sad thing we even have to mention that because we've hardened the target so much. But at some point, sometimes even those barriers, they have a little sliding open window. It's not clear exactly what could have been done.
It's not my cleaning lady. It's the apartment complex. She's in the hallway.
To think that the driver was at the controls. This is what we were hearing over the radio, was that the driver, the hostage taker, was threatening to shoot the driver, and therefore the driver was plowing through police cars and acting at the direction of the hostage taker. It's horrifying to put yourself in the head of that driver, having to choose between you getting shot.
No, not
and then
Speed
ramming
2,
into police cars and
Jay.
civilian vehicles.
And from what you
Speed
heard, there was
2
no
is cruise
indication of
control.
where
That
they were
movie
headed,
stunk.
like,
This is
we
Speed
need to get
1.
to this spot or that spot, or no indication on a destination.
Well, the thing was, there was no communication. You hear it in the movies that, there's a communication set up between the hostage taker and the police who have negotiators. It doesn't appear there was any communication. What we were hearing over the scanner traffic, it was just observers, the officers who were seeing what was going on through the window, and there wasn't any communication. The hostage taker at that point was in control, and the police had to follow and try to anticipate. At one point, actually, it looked like he was going to get off.
Are we able to take the Atlanta News First chopper here really quick? It looks like an ambulance just arrived there on scene. And here we go. Okay, so we're looking right now at the ambulance that just pulled in, and we're going to go back to this DOT shot as they likely, put somebody or persons.
The possible bus driver
Yes.
maybe inside that.
Exactly.
ambulance.
Can I bring one more thing up,
Sure,
if
of
I may?
course.
Atlanta police were one of the lead agencies on this from the beginning, and they were involved in the takedown of the bus. It's important to point out, because we actually saw this in the earlier incident today, the shooting, where they were able to use tourniquets on the victims to immediately stop the bleeding, or at least try to stop the bleeding. It's not required that police officers render aid even to someone they've shot. It's not required by law. It is in the Atlanta police policy. They are required to render aid immediately, whether it's a victim, an innocent victim, or even a suspected perpetrator. And Atlanta police actually issues tourniquets to every single one of their officers. So they are equipped to immediately deal with the stop the bleed kits that other departments aren't even issued. And in this
Stop
case,
the
it may
bleed
have
kits.
been
I've never
decisive.
even heard of
If
that.
you're just now joining us here on Atlanta News First, we are following.
All right,
breaking
one
news
more
this hour, a
rack of
high-speed
replays here
bus
for those of you
chase
that
down
missed it.
I-85 that ends in what we believe could be potentially injured persons that were on board that bus. This is video from earlier this afternoon showing the Gwinnett County Transit bus slamming in and out of police officers and civilian cars, everyday people just likely going home from work. Here it is about to make this left in between traffic and run right into the back of this gray sedan. This was a pattern we saw repeated over and over and over again. We understand from scanner traffic is told, and there's he is slamming, or he or she's slamming directly into the back of that police car. We were told this was a hostage situation. That is from the scanner traffic that we heard here in Atlanta.
Never thought I'd
First.
see the
Officers
plot from
communicating
Speed
back
played
and forth
out in
between
real
one another,
life, but
that
at least on
somebody
camera.
aboard this bus was holding the bus driver hostage. I believe this all started, Tracy, over at Ivan Allen Boulevard with some kind of incident as we watch this spike
One more
strip
time.
video.
Here's
The
a spike
officer
strip
nailing
king
the back tires,
getting
but
the
bus chasing
entire
was
right
Yeah,
side
not slowing
there.
down at all. And as you mentioned, Alan, starting at Ivan Allen Drive, so going through Fulton County, DeKalb County, Gwinnett County, and then ending there on Silver Hill Road near Stone Mountain. So what a frightening afternoon for a lot of people who were on the roadways, trying to get home, trying to get to work in some occasions there. From that video from earlier today, the back of that SUV nearly clipped by that bus. And here we have the bus going the wrong way on that intersection there, driving in the turn lane. You can actually see some smoke from the back tires
There it is, yeah, the
I think
spike
he's
strip.
just riding on rims for the most part, as much as
Yeah,
he
there
could
he is.
there.
Look at that.
Just kind of weaving in and out of traffic. And again, amazing skill and work done by law enforcement across the metro.
All right.
Making sure no
I think
other
that
peop-
is a good place to cut this one off. As what do we always say? You see something different every time we do one of these. Today is no different, my friends, as this Atlanta Dodge Charger XXXXXL chase has come to a close. 5 stars in the books. I guess we'll wait to hear on the fallout in regards to the injured people. I'm sure it'll be all over the news, nationally as well. So I think we're officially code 4. I feel safe in saying put your 4s in the chat.